Get started. This is a webinar. It is to talk about All Access, which are rides for everyone. I am Kevin English. I am the Director of Content with Dirty Freehub. And
I am Linda English, aka Gravel Girl. And Kevin, do you want to talk a little bit about what is Dirty Freehub?
hang on, you're the Executive Director of Dirty
Oh,
Freehub.
I guess maybe I should do that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, Dirty Freehub,
Oh,
as
hang
you
on.
most,
Do you want to introduce who David is here?
oh yeah, well, I guess we should, given that
Yeah.
he's sitting there and he looks kind of funny just hanging out on the top.
Yeah. So
Um,
David, David, why don't you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is David Tost, and I know a few slides in, I'm going to go over a little bit about my story, but fairly new to cycling and absolutely love everything that Dirty Free Hub is doing and excited to be a part of it.
Okay. So, Linda, do you want to talk a little bit about what Dirty Freehub is?
Sure. Dirty Freehub is a nonprofit, and we are all about gravel cycling and building the gravel cycling community. And specifically, as most of you know, we have a lot of gravel routes, gravel ride guides, but we also have a lot of different social missions. We want to inspire you to get out and ride, would be one big mission. We want to make sure you're riding the right route. So that's all about routes. But while you're out there, we also really want you to learn about where you're riding. And so we want you to learn about the environment, the history. Maybe there's some art along the way. So that's really important to us. We're also super excited about using gravel as a way for small towns and economic development. When cyclists go out and they ride in a town like Paisley, Oregon, which is in the middle of nowhere and really doesn't have a lot of economic advantages, cyclists can bring in a strong economy. And then finally, what we really want to do is help with the urban rural divide. I know in these political times, things are really, really scary for all of us. And we feel it very strongly at Dirty Free Hub that cycling can be part of that solution in terms of getting maybe people who are from the city with different values to be out in the country and riding and getting to meet these people. And maybe we can help cut down on some of those big walls that exist between these two groups. Kevin, did I miss anything?
No, you did great.
Okay, great.
Okay. So we're going to talk about All Access, and kind of the byline for All Access now is gravel rides for everyone. And could be an older athlete like Don Miller here, could be young kids and families, could be an adaptive athlete as in the top right. Linda, let's talk about how All Access, the project, let's talk about what the project is.
Right.
Um,
It's a little confusing. So we talk about all access routes and rides, but we also talk about it, sort of the way that all of these things were funded. So we put in a grant to Travel Oregon, and luckily last year we were awarded that grant. So now we are fulfilling on that grant. But Travel Oregon and where they get their money is from hotel tax money. And that's what they're spending that hotel tax money on is to help both promote what we call as good tourism. In Dirty Free Hub, where we get our funding, because we had to put in half the funding for this, is we get it from our cycling community. A lot of you people on the call have donated to Dirty Free Hub, and so we thank you for that. So this is coming back as part of what we're paying for out of the donations that we get from Dirty Free Hub.
yeah, so All Access is routes, a certain type of route, but we also have two gravel guides that are coming out. And in terms of all the route development and all the gravel guides, it was an equal split of funding between Travel Oregon and ourselves, is how it's set up. Or when I say ourselves, it's actually members like all of you who have contributed to make this happen with the 50% match to Travel Oregon. Okay, nuts and bolts. Let's talk about what All Access is. All Access is a name for routes that meet this general criteria. And it's general criteria. It's not held to hard and fast every time, but they're meant to be shorter, less than 30 miles. They're meant to have an elevation gain of less than 2,000 feet. A climb ratio is where you take the elevation gain and divide it by the miles. So let's say you have 1,000 feet of gain and a 30 miles, that's a climb ratio of 0.3. And so we're looking at everything being a climb ratio of 0.9 or less.
So what exactly, Kevin, for this climb ratio? If it were 10 miles, how many feet would I have climbed to get a 0.9, less than a 0.9?
900 feet only.
900 feet.
No,
Okay,
no
so
more
there
than
you go.
900 feet. So if it's a 10 miles and you climbed 1,000 feet, that's a 1.0 ratio.
Okay, so less than 0.9. So we like that climb ratio. That's a very important thing. We've just started really using that, and I really like the climb ratio idea.
And a climb ratio, lower than 0.9, it's really hard to find a route that has a climb ratio of less than 0.5, but there are a few. But the lower the climb ratio, the less climbing there is. Other general criteria: sustained gradients, less than 5%. We can have gradients that are a little bit steeper, but it can be 6% for only 0.3 miles, 7% for 0.2 miles, or 8% for 1/10 of a mile. So that kind of helps you understand that maybe maybe I got really busy with life. I got busy with kids. I got busy with job. I gained some weight. And I do see that, hey, it's got an 8% gradient for a little bit. I can get off my bike and I can walk a 0.1 mile on the bike. All the all access routes are 100% e-bike friendly. We go with maintained gravel roads and a tread width greater than 36 inches. And that's to help the adaptive athletes understand, to help them take their quads or their trikes out because they have wider bikes. Technical difficulty, technical difficulty is like a mountain bike rating of rocks, roots, loose, stuff like that. And everything for technical difficulty is less than moderate. Most of the stuff is always on the easier side. We put no single track into it, and we try to keep them in urban to slightly remote settings. That way, in case you have a mechanical or something comes up, you're not out there deep in the woods and your anxiety level goes up and goes, am I ever going to see anybody? So we make them just, a little bit more urban or slightly remote, not super remote.
But at the end of the day, Kevin, one of our biggest goals in Dirty Freehub is to give you enough information for you to decide whether or not this is a good route for you. So we're not guaranteeing you this is the perfect route. We're just trying to make sure we're providing as much information as possible so that you can pick a route that's going to be perfect for you.
Right. I'm trying to do one thing.
Oh, you're trying to promote Michael?
I'm trying to promote Michael to a panelist.
Yep. Okay, just go ahead and go on to the next slide.
Yeah. Okay. Michael, I see you out there, and we'll get you to a panelist at some point here. Okay.
Wait, you skipped one. Go back.
Oh, okay.
This is a question that we get all the time that I threw in here, which is how do we find these rides? Because they're actually really hard to find.
Yes. So all access routes you would think would be this super easy route to find. They're not. They're actually some of the hardest routes to find because I've got a lot of specific criteria. It can't be too steep. I can't have a big climb on it. I can't have any single track on it. I want to stay away from busy roads. I like loops. And so I'm looking for enough dirt roads that connect for a loop that's only 15 miles. I'm looking for highlights or points of interest along the way to make the ride exciting for you so you learn about culture, history, and heritage. So these are some of the most difficult routes for us to find and develop. And a lot of these routes that we do in the all access domain typically take us longer than a year to kind of nail down. It's because it comes in with many iterations and many different rides. For example, there's a route I've worked north of Bend by about 50 miles, and it took me about 7 times to ride it until we actually nailed down what the right route is for all access. Now, what's interesting is our current catalog of rides is about 330 rides in Dirty Freehub. We want that catalog to have 15% all access by the year 2030. Okay.
Now, Kevin, let's talk for a second about why this became important for us. I think it's a really good backstory. We were getting challenged by Travel Oregon specifically of how were we serving underserved populations. And we decided to start looking at how many routes out there actually met our all access criteria. And when you did the first look, how many of them actually met that criteria?
Okay, so when I say a first look, I looked at rides by Our Mother the Mountain. I looked at Dirty Freehub rides. I looked at rides by Honey Badger rides. I looked at rides from the Mid Valley mountain biking or gravel
Gravel
biking group,
grinders. Yeah.
gravel grinders. I looked at any kind of group I could find in Oregon that documented gravel rides that met all access criteria. The total number of rides that met that criteria was 3. Dirty Freehub had 2, and one other organization had 1. And if you think about it, if I'm a person busy with life, or I've got a family and kids, or I'm an adaptive athlete, my margin for error or my time, I don't have a lot of margin for error if I go on a ride and it goes bad, or I don't have a lot of time to do a lot of planning on this. So it was actually a segment that was getting very little route development. And it was kind of by accident in terms of all of us other groups, we typically documented what we liked to ride, and we left this domain empty. Nothing was being developed from there. And Travel Oregon did a great job of pushing back on us and saying, here's what we want. And so that's how we got that grant. Linda, did you want to add to that at all?
No, I mean, for years we had heard people tell us that, and we were always kind of like, we'll get to it one of these days. But it really, really did change our mind once we went out and did this full assessment. And we said, wow, can you imagine like you're brand new to cycling and you're going to go out and, the first ride you're going to do is a 40-mile ride. That's ridiculous, with 5,000 feet of climbing. I mean, that's pretty silly. So it really got us to change our mind and to say we really want to target this market. We think it's a great market for us.
I think it's the right thing to do.
Right, it's the right thing to do. Yeah, it's not about
Right thing.
expanding Dirty Freehub. It's just like how can we? To me, it's about how can we make it more accessible for more people. So
Yep. Okay. So when you go into Dirty Freehub, the way to identify an all access ride is when you see this little blue or purple moniker with 3 people in it, that is an all access ride guide. The yellow one is a 5-star ride guide. And 5-star rides, if you look down here, this Windchuck Wicked, 28 miles, 2,700 feet, it does not meet the climb ratio. And it has some wickedly steep hills on it of 20%, so it's not all access. But if you look at Ludlam House, 1,600 feet, 26 miles, 75% paved, easier, rural. It's an out and back, so it has it's not as challenging or demanding. The Destination Milkshake, excuse me, is a great ride. The gravel path looks like that the entire way, so it's about 4, maybe 5 feet wide on a gravel path of really fine gravel, which is great
that's
stuff.
a really fun route. Yeah.
So now, where we have all access in the state of Oregon, these are the about 20 routes we have currently, and you can kind of see them. They're scattered. And then, excuse me, Northeast Oregon, I kind of exploded the view a little bit. They got about 4 rides up there. And we're going to keep adding to these over time, but part of our goal was to get these spread throughout the state, was our goal there.
And we think it's really cool. There are people that are saying, this is going to be my bucket list for the year. This is when I'm going to go out. I'm going to ride all access routes across the state of Oregon. And it's going to take you from, the coast to, the valley to Central Oregon to Eastern Oregon. I mean, down to Jordan Valley. There's some really amazing areas and places that you're going to see if you choose to do all of them.
Yeah. And I can highlight, we got one going into Moppet up here. We got another one going into Madras here. I've got 2 more going down into Klamath Falls. And there's 2 down here by Lakeview going in that we're currently working on. So there's more in the works at this point. I would say we'll have 25 to 30 of these by August out.
I would be curious if anybody in the chat has done any of them. So go ahead and drop us a chat if you've done any of them. I'd like to understand that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, how to find all access rides on Dirty Freehub. So I need to step out of that. So there's two ways to find all access rides on Dirty Freehub. You can go to gravel routes and you can go by explore by type. And you'll see the icon again for all access. You can click on all access. And then it brings you up to all the rides in the all access category. And you can peruse those. Another way is you can view the map. And I have the map, and I'm going to explode this a little bit. And there's a filter in the top right. And you can see in the filter, I have turned off the 5-star routes. I've turned off bikepacking development routes. And I've just clicked in all access rides only. So you can do it by a filter. And then if I explode the filter or just start.
We do have one down in Arizona.
We did. That was the first one. So then you can see it like that. So there's two ways, explore by type, or you can just go to Dirty Freehub and then drop into the filter on the map and filter and find those. Okay, let me go back to the slideshow. So we got that. So let's talk about, is this ride right for me? That's
Right.
one of the biggest things we want to do. So talk about that a little bit.
Right. One of our big objectives is to give you enough pictures, videos, metrics, to really help for you to make a good decision. One of the things that I personally always like to look at is there's a description in there that talks about the terrain and riding. I look at the notes sections, the comments. Let me talk for a second about comments because there's a route down in Arizona that we have. It's not an all access route, but it still applies to that. When cyclists go in and they comment, and that is so powerful for you to know what's going on with that route because sometimes things change, right? And I think, once you do a ride, you should come back and you should just give us a quick comment in the comment section, say, yes, everything was great. It was just as described, or no, I ran into, could be a dog, it could be gravel that's different, it could be whatever. Just go ahead and write that. And the next person will so much appreciate that. And so for me, when I'm going to get ready to do a ride and determine if it's right for me, I love to go in and look at all of these metrics. And again, the video gives me a really good idea, the terrain and riding description. But that comment section to me is just wonderful.
Steve, the answer to your question is yes, all access are all e-bike friendly. And if you have an idea for an all access route, I see that question. You can just send your ideas to info@dirtyfreehub.org. So I'm going to suggest, if I am a rider and I'm looking at a ride guide, here's what I would look at to make sure the ride is right for me. One, go through the picture deck. And then the little buttons down here show you that there's like 25 pictures. And just take the time to look at the picture deck and go, you know what? That trail, that all looks like something I can do. Second one, watch the video, and the videos are ride videos located in the right-hand sidebar on the computer when you look at it. And there's a ride video of 2 minutes. Watch it. And again,
and Kevin, I know when we do those ride videos, we are really trying to show you, some of the obstacles, if there's a rough area, if there's a weird gate, especially for adaptive athletes now, we're starting to filming those where, we can really showcase that in the video. So, and you'll see that in the picture deck as well. Some of the parking area issues, all of that show up in both the pictures and the videos.
Yep. The next one to look at, make sure you go to the metrics block. There's 9 different metrics out here. It tells you what type of, is it an out and back, how much gain, what are the surfaces, gravel or paved, technical difficulty, max and min gradients, sustained gradients, climb ratio. Wow, I found a climb ratio of 0.3 on this one. I forget which route. Technical difficulty is not aerobic difficulty. Effort is your aerobic difficulty. Technical difficulty is bike handling skills. How good do I need to be at handling my bike with corners or maybe looser gravel or steeper hills or maybe a little bit of washboard, those kinds of things. Technical difficulty is bike handling. Effort is aerobic capacity. Navigation, is it straightforward or do I need to be careful and know how to navigate? How rural is it, or is it local? And we give you tire suggestions. And if there's options for shorter, longer credit card tours, bike packing, we'll let you know about that.
Yeah, I want to talk for a second about navigation, Kevin, because a lot of people on this call have done water and lava. And I know that's a really, really hard navigation route. So that's a great example of where when we say the navigation is really hard, you're going to have to pay attention to it. So that means I need to be a good navigator, unless I know that area. Now, if I go out to a route and it's like, down one road and I turn around and I come back, that is like the simplest possible navigation you can think of, right? I went down a road, I turned around, I went to some viewpoint, I came back. That's really easy navigation.
So
So I do look at that.
navigation wise, there are no all access routes that are challenging navigation. Could be attention required or straightforward. The ones that should, if you're looking at ride guides and you're looking at all ride guides, the ones that should really get your attention are challenging navigation with very remote. That's so
Yeah, that's scary. Yeah.
those two, when they go together, means you need to be super careful. But that's not an all access ride. That does not fit all access criteria. The other place you should go to the ride details tab and read this terrain and riding block. It's kind of going to give you the play by play for how that route rides or lays out. The next block you should go to the notes and options tab. And this is from Destination Milkshake. Basically, it's going to tell you that, hey, this is a trail. It doesn't use gravel roads, but the trail is about 4 feet wide. And then it has some descriptors for those with adaptive 3 or 4-wheeled bikes. There are some post constraints in there that we did measure out to 44 inches. But if your quad is more than 44 inches, I do not have a way for you to get through there. So I always take a look at the notes. Resource pages. So this is, Linda talked about riding in the desert Southwest. Every once in a while, you'll see a resource page on the right-hand sidebar. And we have one on riding in the desert Southwest because desert Southwest rides more rugged than any other place that we've been to, with the exception of probably Baja, Mexico. And lastly, look at the comments, and there's a comments tab, and then you can read the comments that people have left. And if you ride something, please leave a comment. It is super helpful.
We
Okay.
do give out swag when
Yes, you do.
if somebody's really good. Okay. One of the
Linda,
one
go
of the
ahead.
things that we are starting to include in our both our printed guidebooks and our online ride guides is stories about cyclists. And these stories are really meant to be inspirational for all of us, but they're also meant to be inspirational for the group that they come from. So David Toss, I want to call you Toast, is with us
Toasty.
today. Toasty, I know, I love him. He's so great. He is somebody that we are looking to for really inspiration. So David, tell me a little bit about your story. I know sometimes it's a hard story to tell because we look at you and we think, here's just a normal average guy, right? Like that's when I see you. That's what I think. It's really hard for me to think of you having any specific challenges, but tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to cycling and gravel cycling. But in 2021, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And before that diagnosis, I don't think I'd be someone you'd call active or fit. But cycling kind of came to me, and I quickly realized that I needed to lean in to health and fitness, and staying active was a way to help me with my mental health. And cycling became a way for me to do that and kind of get control back of my body, right? And so I'm proud to say that I cycled 3,000 miles last year.
Wow, that is
Um,
great. That's so
yeah,
awesome.
and I
Congratulations.
completed thank you, and I completed a century ride for Bike MS for the MS Society. So It was last year, Linda, that you and I connected. I think it was on Instagram. And then next thing you know, you put me in touch with Kira, and then we went and rode the Deschutes River Trail out, I think near Biggs Junction.
Biggs, yeah, it's
Um,
Biggs Junction. Yep.
yeah, and that was great. And I just loved how just there was no traffic. The nature was just beautiful. We rode by like a bald eagle's nest. It was fantastic, and I just loved it. And I will say that last year, I was following a very strict, training regimen, right, to complete, a century ride. But for 2025, I am so looking forward to riding a lot of these rides. I will say after my Century ride, I was given a free steel all-road bike to compete in Bike MS. And so when I met that challenge, I treated myself to a new, carbon fiber gravel bike. And I am gifting the gravel bike, the other gravel bike, to my brother-in-law who lives out in Moscow, Idaho. And so I'm keeping my eye out for anything in Eastern Oregon and in Idaho, because I want to get him as passionate about cycling as I am. So I'm super excited to be brought on as, an advisor and someone who advocates for people with MS, because I think a website and what Dirty Freehub does to allow people like me who are battling, whether it's cognitive challenges or mobility challenges, but also who's new to cycling and needs a little bit of guidance into what ride I might be able to ride and what might be good for me. So I'm super excited.
So David, I just have one question for you. So, when I think of somebody with MS, so what are some of the things that are really challenging for you when it comes to cycling? Just tell me a little bit more about that, so maybe I can relate to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the terms that you'll hear about MS is that it's referred to many times as the snowflake disease. And that's because no two people will have the same symptoms or side effects, right? And so I always describe the nervous system, which is what my body, is attacking, as like an extension cord that you see that has that plastic coating on the outside of it, right? Well, our nervous system has like billions of these, wires, and our immune system is attacking it. And so what happens is, imagine that extension cord had a little hole in that plastic coating where the exposed copper or wire was. That's my nervous system. So it can be, cognitive fog, or, the words aren't coming out right because my brain is kind of misfiring. Noise, a lot of layers of noise where my brain's trying to kind of figure out where's this sound coming from? Where's that sound coming from? As well as fatigue and balance, right? Those are all things that I struggle with. So as somebody with MS, the thought of being on a path with some friends, but not have to worry about traffic, and riding into it, I think is a really big deal.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Well, we're super excited to have you. David is working with us as an advisor to helping us make sure that we are really thinking of the all access athlete. And so, David, we welcome you to the Dirty Free Hub team. And we are really looking forward. I hope everybody is as well. Looking forward to riding with David this year. And hopefully he'll maybe be inviting us out on some of his rides. So I think it would be really fun to have a ride with you where we all get to join you on a ride. That would be really great.
Absolutely. Last time my bike was riding on 38 mil tires, so my tires are a little bigger now, so I think I'll be good to go. Luckily,
Yeah,
Kira was there to kind of make sure that I was all set and good to go. So thanks to Kira.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was a
Well,
fun ride for sure.
yeah, you're absolutely an inspiration to me personally. And also, if you have not done the Deschutes River Trail out of Biggs, which is right on the border with Washington, it is a wonderful ride. And there is a big eagle's nest. That eagle's nest is so iconic out there. So, anyways, Kevin, did you have any other questions?
No, I just want to say, David, thank you very much. I super appreciate you sharing the story.
Yeah, we do.
Also, a lot of people in the comments, David, are saying that you're such an inspiration to everyone, so appreciate it.
I love
Yeah,
it. I love
yeah.
it. Thank you all.
Okay. Cheers, David.
Uh,
Thank you.
Thanks. And now, okay. So we are more than routes. We believe in mission and impact. So we believe one of the things we're really starting to lean into is community. And so we believe in fostering a community of passionate cyclists who love exploration and stewardship. And in the route guides, we emphasize a lot about local stories, art, culture, and talking about the highlights of a region. And we partner with those communities to ensure our rides are sustainable and impactful. So the picture here, I think, tells actually a really cool story. This is from Northeast Oregon. That is me in the helmet. That is Jay Cairns, who is a potato farmer. We were doing a ride out of Baker City, and I stopped to take a picture of a potato harvest. And he came over and said, "Hey, I can do better than let you take pictures. Would you like a tour of how we harvest potatoes?" And I said, "I'd love it." But I said, "I got 10 cyclists with me." And he goes, "Bring them on over. We'll give you all a tour." So in the middle of a potato harvest on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, he takes time out of his day, 45 minutes, to walk us through the entire thing of how potatoes are harvested and which potatoes make tater tots, which potatoes go to McDonald's to make French fries. And it was a way to really connect with where we were riding. It was one of the highlights of the weekend.
Absolutely. That's all I heard about. We had so many things going on that weekend, and all I heard about was the trip to the potato harvest. That was really hilarious. But it just shows you how much people want to learn more about the communities that they ride in.
So every one of our ride guides, that's a 5-star guide. Below the map, you will see this highlights and remarkable spots. And we start giving you, brief paragraphs or 3 to 5 sentences about something that's pretty cool. And so we can talk about meadows. We can talk about some lakes that are really unique, or birds that are really unique, or butterflies, or trees, or some of the indigenous history. And typically on a route, these are some of the cornerstones for me to a route of, can I find these anchor points? Can I find these cool things to talk about? Because we want people to appreciate where they're riding and connect to it and to be stewards of those lands. The next part we have is called Love or You Ride. That's in the very top part of the block. And like Destination Milkshake here, we're going to teach you a little bit about tiger trout. And tiger trout are a certain type of fish that cannot reproduce, but are raised in hatcheries to alleviate a certain type of chub minnow that was released and causing detriment to Fish Lake. So we'll try to teach you a little bit about some cool things that are happening. The next piece we have in there is keep it local. We are going to feature spots where you can go grab a beer, a coffee, a burger, a breakfast, something of that sort. And the spots we take into the ride guides are places that are locally owned, because we know locally owned has tremendous local impact. And so we're going to feature and highlight those local spots. And the other part is we have podcasts. And so this is from a ride guide that's rural, and it's called Tractors, Bulls, and Lycra, and it's with Darla. And Darla is a century farmer in Northeast Oregon. And she talks about what we can do as cyclists to be better visitors.
She was, for example, very, very interested as to why cyclists would come upon her close on a huge tractor that she's driving down a road, and we're buzzing all around it. And she's like, I can't see you guys out there. Yeah, she had quite a few opinions for all cyclists on what we could do better in terms of riding around farms.
So that's part of missions and impact. And now,
okay, now the really fun part.
Yeah, now the fun part. So we are producing there's Michael. We are producing 2 printed gravel guides, 10 routes in each guide, 2 different rider profiles in each guide. And, oh, Michael, where'd you go?
Uh-oh, he just took off. Oh, that's okay. He's coming back.
Michael, you there, Michael?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
You're
cool.
making us
So,
nervous.
so Michael is the artist that we are featuring in these two ride guides. And Michael was commissioned to create the front covers for both ride guides. And in each guide, 4 to 6 pieces of his original work is showcased, and his work is absolutely stunning and beautiful. And then Michael was kind enough to allow us to capture his style of art and apply it to all the photography in the book. Now, Michael, you and I have spoken by phone. We've worked together. Linda's the executive director, and she's got some questions for you if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Michael, tell us a little bit about who you are. I think your story is very interesting. So tell me a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm Michael Orwick, Oregon born and raised, and done a lot of traveling. Used to bike a lot, but my bike has got 2 flat tires and a lot of dust. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there, and hearing all that you guys have said has been really exciting. I've been painting. I started off actually as an illustrator about 20 years ago, and then moved into fine art and selling my work through galleries for the last probably 15, 16 years. And so I normally turn down all illustration work, but this project was so interesting, and your guys's what you're doing is so cool that I really wanted to be a part of it, and I'm honored to be on the covers.
So tell me about when you say it's so cool, what does that really mean to you? So I'm sure you thought we were just like these crazy people who are like, here's this bike group showing up and they want us to work with an artist. So
Yeah,
tell me about
definitely
what was
initially. Yeah.
cool.
Well, what was neat is you guys have so much information online. So I was able to look you up really quickly, learn a lot, learn about your guys' mission statement, and then just, yeah, I really love the idea of promoting nature, promoting the area, promoting the history. And so that's really, and then of course the bike riding. So all those things combined, and now what you're doing with the all access. So somebody like me who hasn't biked in a very long time can get back into it. And, I think that's just really neat.
So
So
tell me a little bit about what inspires you to be an artist. I mean, I know every artist, there's got to be some driver because it's probably not the easiest way to make a living. So tell me about where your inspiration really comes from.
I mean, I was kind of celebrated as a young kid. I'm dyslexic with ADHD, so school was always tough. And my teachers really supported me, and my parents really supported me, which is, different than a lot of artists' stories. But I really grew up with people backing me and believing in me. And so, yeah, I've been painting and drawing most all my life. And it's been what really attracts me now is light and atmosphere. And I think living here in the Pacific Northwest, that we just have both of those in spades. I've painted in, I don't know, 23 different countries around the world. And I really think Oregon is where it's at. I think we're just really fortunate. So beautiful here.
And what's been your greatest challenge so far in working on this project for Dirty Freehub?
It really wasn't a challenge.
No?
You guys were easy to work with. It was great. Um, it was good timing as far as not having a great big gallery show coming up or anything like that. So the timing worked out. The communication was on point. You guys were really easy to work with. You guys sent some photos of ideas, which I used for the Eastern side.
Yeah. Can
and
we
then,
flip back to the Eastern and Western?
yep, we can.
Yeah. And then I came up with the idea for the vineyard, again, in conversation with you guys. And so that was a lot of fun. I do a lot of wine labels and a lot of work. I live out here kind of close to the vineyards. And so I do a lot of work with vineyards. So that was fun to incorporate both those things.
Now, I have one final question, which Kevin and I don't agree on this answer. So we're trying to figure out which one is our favorite,
Uh-huh.
Eastern or Western. And for the group, I would love to hear in your chat. So which cover do you like better? And tell me a little bit about the why. Which one connects to you more?
Okay. As you put that in, and part of our social missions is is to push you as riders to experience new things. And I'm going to be quite frank on this. I was never into art, and these projects have pushed me to embrace it more and more. And what I really like about this project is if you purchase a gravel guide, the Eastern Oregon gravel guide or the Western Oregon gravel guide, money goes back to Michael, the artist. And so we are, not we, you as a purchaser of the gravel guides are supporting the arts and making that happen. So there's more than just it being Dirty Freehub and us, paying cartographers and illustrators and stuff like that. We are trying to put money back into the arts and make an appreciation for the arts. And the more I've been involved in projects like this, the more I start getting captivated by going to museums, learning about history and learning about art, which I think is kind of one of our sneaky missions. If we can kind of get you in just a little bit, and then we start getting you in a little bit more, I think it's super important to know where we came from and to have an appreciation for the culture, history, heritage, and the arts about us.
Okay, and Michael, so which one of these pictures do you connect more to, or are they equal for you, and for what
Well,
reason?
I definitely connect more with the vineyards, but that's because I paint so many of them and I live amongst them. So actually, I had more fun with the Eastern Oregon just because it was a new challenge. And I don't really paint desert or, arid scenes very often. And those rocks are just so beautiful and fun to carve out. So that was probably more fun. But the other one, that's literally one of my photos. So, I definitely I connect
Beautiful.
with that more, but
Somebody's asking us if that is Leslie's Gulch. And Kevin, I think that answer is correct, right?
That is Leslie Gulch.
Leslie's Gulch. Good job, Erica. That's
yeah.
quite the. I know my rocks in Oregon for sure. If you haven't been out to Leslie's Gulch, that's a beautiful place to ride. I don't think we have our ride guides out there
And
yet.
Linda, is that you on the bike in that picture?
No, it is not. Everybody's sure that that's me, and that is not
Okay.
me. So, anyways,
Go ahead, Linda.
Kevin, any more questions, Kevin?
Yeah, Michael, if we want to see your art, do you have a gallery or do you have a website?
Yeah, I
Or
show in a number of galleries. There's one in Newburgh called Art Elements. There's one at the coast called Dragonfire Gallery at Cannon Beach. But I show in about 7 or 8 galleries, but all over the United States. And then my website is just michaelorwick.com. And that's the easiest way to see. And I've just posted these 2 paintings on there. And yeah, I mean, otherwise you can find me on Instagram and everywhere else that artists are told to share our work.
We know that all too well.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Michael has been super great to work with, and I super appreciate all his cooperation. He's been super great to work with. Super appreciate.
Thank you so much. No, it was a pleasure, and I hope we can continue to work together at some point in the future. And yeah, I'm going to continue to follow what you guys are doing, and can't wait to get my books and dust off the old bike and get back out there. So thank you guys.
Michael, we've got a couple. We're going to have a couple more asks out of you, I think.
Okay.
We're going to do some signature signed copies of the book if you're up for that.
For the first people to buy it. Yep.
Oh, wow.
What we call the collector's editions. If you're up for signing some books for us, that'd be great.
Yep.
Your hand will be very tired, but that's okay.
Yeah, I've done that with print runs in the past. So yeah.
And then we're going to try to do a launch party somewhere up in Portland for these 2 books, somewhere probably in that May, June, July timeframe. And if we can get you out for that, that would be fabulous also.
Absolutely. That would be really fun.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you
All
so
right,
much,
well-
Michael, for joining us. I know it's kind of an odd thing to ask you to join our little group, but we do.
No, I've enjoyed listening and learning even more. So this has been great. And like I said, I'll continue to follow along on your guys' adventures and as you continue to grow and expand on, I think, all these great things that you're doing. So keep it up.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Great question came in. How soon before the books will be available to purchase?
We're still working on them.
Yeah. The pre-orders, we're going to put them pre-order on the site roughly at March 15th. The books will be on the ground and start shipping April 18th is when that is a firm commitment.
Can you say those dates again? My pen did not really.
Okay. So the
Wait,
pre-order,
we have it as a slide, don't we, Kevin?
we did not.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. The pre-orders, the books will be available for pre-order starting March 15th. The books will physically be ready for shipment out to customers or riders April 18th. Okay.
So roughly tax day, if everybody can remember.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
One
they're up there. I thought we had it.
pre-orders March 15th, distribution April 18th. You can find the books at select bike shops. Ask your local bike shop to carry them. That'd be super cool. We'll have them on the Dirty Freehub store. Most likely they'll be in some of the visitor centers also. Pricing roughly $12.50, and then if you need to ship them out, shipping is usually somewhere around $2 or $2.50, depending how we do it. If you buy 2 books, we'll have some kind of discount in there. This is just the per book price, but I think we're going to offer a package deal. If you buy both books, you get a better deal.
And they are very, very similar to if you have our Oregon Coast one, which are still available as well. They're very similar to those in terms of the same quality. Those were absolutely beautiful. It was with a different artist, but it was the same idea. Although those has some really, really hard routes and like Cheddar
Oh
Head.
yeah, the Oregon Coast Gravel Guide is not all access.
No, they're really hard. Cheddar Head is what, 65 miles and pushing your bike between Portland and the coast. Not for me. I could never finish that particular route. So anyways, all right. Thank you so much, Michael.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Michael. Okay. Lastly, I'm gonna go through some of the questions, but I'm gonna say also Dirty Freehub is funded by your donations. You can make a donation on the website. You can do it by Venmo. And there's 2 ways to look at it. I think donations, I've really started studying nonprofits a lot. And there's part of you donate to Dirty Freehub as a transaction of I'm getting great ride guides. But also when you're donating to Dirty Freehub, you're doing great things. Like you're allowing us to build routes for like David Tost, a person who has MS, or for adaptive athletes, or you're helping us to develop podcasts to help bridge that urban-rural divide, or you're helping us to develop gravel guidebooks that then go back and helps keep the arts in place. So it's more than a transaction of, hey, I'm just buying a gravel ride guide for a great ride for myself. You're contributing to a lot of other things. And if I kind of pitch it now as we're a small nonprofit with big ideas, trying to tackle some really everyday issues. For example, inspiration. If we can inspire people to get out and ride, we're all facing, there's anxiety we face. There could be, we're facing loneliness, so we're looking for community and friendship. Those are all things we're trying to really start to try to figure out how to tackle, because we're really trying to lean into community now. So your donations are also going to help us figure out how do we build community. And Linda's been working on a great project with a couple other people on the Dirty Freehub team of collections. And now we're starting to get collections of rides, which are bird rides or waterfall rides.
Oh, my favorite, I think, are Rock Doctor. We have Kim Ellie, who has a PhD in geology. She's picked out her favorite geology routes. So if they have some really cool rock formation in it, then she's put it as her collection. So
But what we're trying to do with those collections then is to have people sign up to do collections and then join other people who have passion about going on those routes and maybe connecting and riding together. So to help build the community. So your donations go more than just as a transaction. You're investing in a lot of other great things. So
I would just like to thank everybody for coming tonight. We really, really do appreciate you. This is part of a webinar series, and as part of a webinar series, what we do during the winter months is that we have webinars, and that's just to help us all sort of stay sane while it's cold and dreary in Oregon. But we see spring coming, and so this will be our last webinar for our webinar series, and then you'll start seeing them pop up again in November. So we had both Kira, Bella, and myself working on our webinars this year, and we will hope to be doing some more again in the fall. So if you don't see them, don't go, oh my gosh, the Dirty Freehub team has forgotten about us. It just has to do with we really want you to be out riding your bike. And so we're hoping that that is coming up relatively quickly for all of us. And we are definitely looking forward to getting out and riding. So Kira, I can't thank you enough. Bella, who's also on the Dirty Free Hub team, has worked on them as well. So thank you, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you out on our gravel rides.